inside baseball, but if you've been tracking what happened in law schools, it is the apocalypse. They about 5 or 6 years ago, applications to law school started dropping off, and when it hit bottom, the enrollments in first year enrollments in law schools had dropped something like 40%. That is a really big number. So I think we have about 200 accredited law schools in the U.S. We really have room for about 50. And that's the kind of thing. I think that the freestanding 2-year MBA program is facing very similar problems that convincing 28-year-olds quit your high-paying job, move your family to Hanover, New Hampshire for 2 years and give us $150,000. That is a troubled model. So I think that freestanding MBA programs, there's definitely, we are observing a bit of a sort of overcapacity and differentiation problem, where you might see a dozen or 20 top schools that offer something that's really unique. And then the other schools are either going to sort of not have an MBA program at all, or it'll be part-time, or it'll have 15 students none of whom pay tuition because they need to have some shop window that gets rated. And so like an awful lot of schools have an MBA program, mostly because they need to say they have an MBA program, but it's definitely a loss leader. But at the other end, for undergraduate programs, business is by far the most popular major in America, for better or worse. And I'd probably say worse. That's as a philosophy major, so pre-unemployment. But there's going to be demand for business education in bulk. The problem is that it's not the high-paying customers who are anteing up $60,000 a year and can fund us to do, fund studies of the wine industry or whatever. That it's going to be large enrollment classes in bulk that might not allow people sort of the spare time to do kind of research that they want. And for public institutions, such as the one that I'm at, there's a limit to how much we're going to be allowed to raise tuition in the future. There's just, is known as the cost disease of the service sector. Tuition kept going up for years. I don't think that can continue the way things are. But faculty expect to get paid more every year. We keep thinking we get raises, even though we're still teaching the same classes at the same speed we always did. So we never really get any more productive. So all of this kind of suggests that there's a built-in pressure. And the concern is going to be that if state legislatures are showing up and saying, why are we funding you to do X, Y, Z? And we're starting to see that happen in a few places now. I think Wisconsin has been, sadly, one of the, I think, great academic institutions of the 20th century, and a slightly unenlightened, let's say, governor and legislature have not been as generous as they might be there. In Florida, the governor said, why are we funding anthropology? There are no jobs in Florida for anthropology majors. Let's stop funding that major. So we're already seeing around the edges both the pressure around tuition and pressures around what kind of majors do we want to have. And so it feels that during whatever the next economic downturn is, that you'll start seeing more funding entities saying, why aren't you using more temps? So to me, if I think any institution that's attentive to this is going to want to be able to say, hey, send your contingent of state legislators here, and we're going to show you what we're doing with the water supply in Flint, democratic workplaces. We're creating new apps that solve problems that the voters of your state care about. So you asked a simple question, I gave a long answer, but I think the pressures are already here. I think the law school is a cautionary tale of what can happen. And so we need to prepare now to be able to have something to say for ourselves when, the governor of Florida stops by.